We've got perhaps the clearest reminder that karma exists that we've ever gotten. So here's the story. On Thanksgiving Day, literally on Thanksgiving Day, Donald Trump took to Truth Social with a long screed which read, in part, quote, "Hundreds of thousands of refugees from Somalia are completely taking over the once great state of Minnesota. Somalian gangs are roving the streets looking for prey as our wonderful people stay locked in their apartments and houses, hoping against hope that they will be left alone. The seriously retarded governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, does nothing, either through fear, incompetence, or both." Again, this was his post on Thanksgiving Day. This from the leader of the party that spent the last decade bitching and moaning that the radical left isn't deferential enough to the holidays and has been waging a war on Christmas. Now they've got full control of government. They use these holidays to publicly call people retarded instead of spending time with their families. Guess this is what they wanted for the holidays all along, huh? In any case, it doesn't look like that little outburst served Trump well, because today, one Indiana Republican took to Facebook writing, "Many of you have asked my position on redistricting. I have been an unapologetic advocate for people with intellectual disabilities since the birth of my second daughter. Those of you that don't know me or my family might not know that my daughter has Down syndrome. This is not the first time our president has used these insulting and derogatory references, and his choices of words have consequences. I will be voting no on redistricting. Perhaps he can use the next 10 months to convince voters that his policies and behavior deserve a congressional majority." Remember, Indiana Republicans announced a special legislative session on December 8th to yet again reconsider redrawing their maps mid-cycle so that they can engineer permanent majorities for themselves in the House. And yet now, it looks like that effort is once again on life support, all because Donald Trump, the President of the United States, could not manage to control himself and decided that on Thanksgiving Day, he needed to come out and say that the governor of Minnesota is retarded. I hope it was worth it. I hope he made a bunch of loser groypers and 2 online right-wing hacks happy, because that tweet may have very well cost him 2 seats in the House and a majority. It's worth noting, too, that J.B. Pritzker told me that if Indiana does indeed decide to redraw its maps, then Illinois will position itself such that it can neutralize whatever Indiana does. Here's how that conversation went. You and I had spoken about a month or so ago, and prior to Prop 50 passing in California, when we were talking about Donald Trump going into these states and basically mandating that they redraw their maps. And you had alluded to this idea of pairing one state with another. And so when we have California neutralizing what's happening in Texas, then those kind of cancel each other out. But whether the other Democratic weapons would be used would depend on what happens next. Since our conversation, we have seen, yes, Texas redraw its maps and that get neutralized by what happened in California just a few days ago. But we've also seen maps redrawn in Missouri, redrawn in Ohio, and redrawn in North Carolina. Recognizing now that we only have a few weapons at our disposal to again, neutralize what we're seeing, what can you tell us about how Illinois will be used in terms of neutralizing those other states?
Well, if you look at a map, we're neighbors with both Indiana and Missouri. And I've sort of taken it on as a personal project to focus on what's happening in Missouri, because that can be reversed with a referendum. And so we'll see what happens. There's been some success, I believe, at the moving toward that reversal in Missouri, and I'm going to help in any way I can there as well. And then there's Indiana, and Indiana's been on again, off again about whether or not they're going to redistrict, and I've made it reasonably clear that Illinois will have to move seriously toward the idea of redistricting if Indiana is going to do it. If they back off, they need to understand that they will get neutralized if we go about redistricting. So, if they're rational, I think they'll choose not to redistrict.
And of course, to watch more of my interviews and to support my work more broadly, the best way to do that is to subscribe to my channel. It is and always will be 100% free, but again, it's a great way to support me and I'd really appreciate it. So please just hit the subscribe button on your screen. Thanks so much. So even if this Indiana effort did manage to pass, which thanks to Trump's inability to control himself is now highly unlikely, then it'll be instantly neutralized by J.B. Pritzker in Illinois. Either way, it doesn't bode well for Donald Trump's effort to engineer himself a majority in the House. And of course, the ultimate irony is that because Trump was so hellbent on giving himself that permanent majority in the House, the biggest consequence was that it fired up the Democratic base. Here's Mark Elias discussing that point.
I want to put on the screen a recent poll that was done by Politico about redistricting. And what it shows is that 68% of Democrats support or strongly support mid-cycle redistricting to neutralize the other party. And actually 54% of them support doing it to gain advantage. Only 6% oppose it to neutralize, and only 10% of Democrats oppose it or strongly oppose it to gain advantage. So, I think that one of the things that happened in the California ballot initiative was a real change in the mindset of Democratic voters. I think that there are a lot of Democratic politicians who are still living in a world in which they believe that Democratic voters sort of abhor partisan gerrymandering,
right.
that they don't want people to fight fire with fire, and that if they do, it has to only be to neutralize the other side. It can't be to do more than the bare minimum necessary to meet what Republicans are doing. And the polling just doesn't support that. I mean, I think that this is one of these places where what is good for democracy, which is not allowing Donald Trump's gambit to win, is also actually really good politics. It's really popular among, Democratic voters to be seen as fighting for more Democratic seats. And I hope that is something that all of these governors take into account as they consider whether to do mid-cycle redistricting. I hope it is something that the Virginia legislature takes into account as they decide how many seats to seek to redistrict, because this is, an existential fight right now for democracy.
And by the way, here's where the redistricting wars stand right now. Texas added 5 seats, which was blocked by a trial court and is pending appeal at the U.S. Supreme Court. North Carolina and Missouri both added a seat for Republicans. Ohio added 2. Meanwhile, California added 5 for Democrats, and that's withstood all of the court challenges by Republicans. Virginia is on its way to adding anywhere from 2 to 4 seats for Democrats. Utah's gerrymander was blocked in court, and that'll be another seat for Democrats. And of course, we're still waiting on Florida for Republicans and Maryland for Democrats. So it's pretty much a wash at this point, unless, of course, the Supreme Court upholds the lower court decision, in which case Donald Trump's effort to engineer himself a House majority will lead to a net gain of about 5 seats for Democrats. Because as we're learning again and again, karma does still exist. In the meantime, perhaps Donald Trump will realize that he is the president of the United States and that shitposting online, on Thanksgiving, no less, to garner attention and get a bunch of right-wing losers who derive their value from punching down on other people was perhaps not the best idea, perhaps not the best use of his holiday time. And good on this Indiana Republican for standing for something in the face of Donald Trump's outbursts. Maybe one day Trump will realize that he too is a grown-ass adult and he'll start acting like it, but I'm not holding my breath. Before you go, if you enjoyed this content and you want to see more and support independent media, please subscribe to this channel. The subscribe button will be right here on the screen. But second, the reality is that we are now in a political environment where this administration can lean on any of the social media platforms to suppress certain voices if they don't like critical coverage. That means my longevity here is in the hands of a few tech billionaires who are already making it clear that they are willing to cater to this administration. To that end, signing up for my newsletter is a way for me to reach you directly if that ever becomes necessary. I'll put the link right here on the screen as well, so please sign up. It's free, but there's also an option to do a paid subscription if you'd like to support me and my team. I really appreciate it. Thanks so much for watching.